The position of a troop historian is incredibly important. If it's not elected or appointed, this position keeps track of your troop's history. Without it, it could be lost forever. Hey, ScouterStan. Let's talk a little bit about the historian, the troop historian of your troop. This is something that a lot of troops kind of miss out on. They don't have one. And because of that, it is history that's well worth learning and knowing about that's lost forever. It's a critical position, and it's often overlooked. This is one of those positions that if you don't have enough scouts, you kind of just leave it. Sometimes, worse, they make this a part of the scribe's duties. And that's not good because that puts more stress on a critical position also. So troop historian is responsible for all kinds of really important things. It's important to keep that in mind when dealing with the historian. They're there to document who was the senior patrol leader, who was the patrol leader of every patrol, how was things happening in the current situation. Now all of that also has to be put with a log book or something like that of the past so that there's a continuing history that goes on with that unit. The troop historian is actually responsible for documenting things that are going on. Camping trips, canoe trips, high adventure, all of those things. Who went on those events? Who went where? That is something that the historian keeps track of. That is very important. Any significant changes in leadership, that needs to be reported. I know of units that are over 100 years old, and they know every single scoutmaster. They can literally have that history. That's amazing. That's a beautiful thing when you can have a unit that knows their past. That is just so neat. The historian should use video and photographs and all those kinds of things. Now this is kept in-house. This is not really something that's out in the public eye. There are some youth protection issues when you're dealing with youth and identifying those youth by photographs or video. So there's some youth protection stuff that needs to be reviewed. There's assistant scoutmasters that help the historian making sure that that stuff stays secure. This information, like a logbook or information or videos or photographs of events, things that they're doing, service projects, all of it, that all needs to be kept in-house but available for people in the unit so that they can actually use that at presentations, at different events. And if there's a significant date, that needs to be historically documented. These are great things. And we live in a country full of history, beautiful history, some tragic history too. So that's the thing that the historian needs to cover. Now there are some things like changing of chartered organization that should also be documented. And those things can be documented without any kind of political type of thing going on there. Just the facts. We were here, now we're here. Leave it simple. History should have some of that in there, so that they can kind of understand why those changes happened. So you can state why. That's fine, but don't try to edit in any kind of agenda things. Okay, you got to be very independent. It's almost like being a reporter, right? You have to tell both sides of the story. So that is very important when you're documenting your history. There are two sides to everything, right? So it's important that the historian sees that too. There are a lot of milestones that need to be observed and recorded. And that's something that your historian should do. Say, for instance, you go to a camporee. That's a record. You have a record attendance. That's a record. That's a historic thing that you need to put in there. These are things that can be put down very easily. They win an award for best campsite or best gate put up at the camporee. These are historical things. Here are some photographs of that. It's kind of the story of the unit and all the scouts and scouters in that unit. That is so important. The historic stuff needs to be documented, and all those milestones need to be there. The historian, that job, is so critical for telling the story of your unit, all of the past and all the great things that they have achieved. I have been in units that had ribbons from 40 years ago. Nobody knows what camp out it was at, who it was for, or what it was for. But there's a ribbon, and it's got, a year on it from 40 years ago. That's what a historian should have. They should have a logbook that's handed down from historian to historian. That's a historical thing. This information is important. I'll tell you why. The historian is the one that answers questions. For instance, if you're giving a presentation, you want to know how many recipients have received that award. Your historian should have that information. That's something that's important. Your historian is also there to promote your troop. That's the wonderful thing. That if you're going to a recruitment, the historian might have displays or videos or photographs or things that the unit has done. That's very appealing for parents and for scouts, young people getting into scouting. That's a great thing for them to see and enjoy, so that they want to be a part of that too. That's the wonderful thing. Be a part of history. Get them involved. Get the historian out there and get those. They see all that great stuff, and that makes them want to be involved in your unit. So these are great little ways to promote your unit in using your successful history. Hey, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you are invited to come to the live meeting. The live meeting is on the first Sunday of each month at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join us. Now, you're going to have to adjust for whatever time zone you're in. But please join us and join in. That's a great way to ask questions, and I'm there to answer them. Also, I want to personally thank all of the patrons on Patreon for their continued financial support. Also, if you would like to become a channel member right here on YouTube, hit the join button and go through that process. It's a great way to help fund what you see here. If you don't want to do a monthly donation, that's fine. We have a thank you button. Just hit the thank you button and make a one-time donation. That is always appreciated. And let's get right back to it. Scrapbooking and photo albums are a great way to document different things. Campouts, different kinds of events, awards. They can be scrapbooks that can actually work with Eagle ceremonies, different courts of honor. That's a really good record to have. Having those records, the historical records, is so important. And having them visually is so incredible. I remember doing a recruiting where the historian had a scrapbook of what they had done at summer camp. Incredible. All the different merit badges and all the different things, the mountain that they climbed, all the different, the cope system. It was exciting to watch. And I've even seen videos from the historian of what they did at summer camp. Incredible. Okay, so these are very important things. Now, one of the big projects that a historian might take on is interviewing veterans of your unit, of the actual troop. They were with the troop, and then they moved on. They got their career or moved away and all that stuff. Doing telephone interviews, video interviews, those are great to actually communicate. And now that we're post-pandemic, we're actually all super experts at the Zoom type of thing. Okay. We all are, and that's the neat thing. We could easily do that with alumni, and those would be great presentations to present at a troop meeting, at a recruitment. These are great things to have in your quiver as far as your history, to have that available so that you can use that at different events. So important. Historical displays at events. This is something that a lot of historians do. And this could be as simple as a Eagle ceremony. It could be at a court of honor. These are great, threefold things that you could put up with all the latest things that the historian has been working on. Videos that could be played, before the event, or even during the event. There's different things that can be done. The historian can be involved in a lot of the presenting of that information. It is so important that we not forget our history. So many units out there. There's so many. And they have fascinating histories. They have alumni from that unit, the veterans of that troop, that are desiring that information. They want to know what happened. It's like being part of a story, and then as soon as your story rolls on to your own, there's what happened to the rest of them. That's the key. That's what the historian can do. The troop historian is extremely important. Maybe not now, but much later and in the past. That information needs to be kept track of. And your troop historian, maybe even a historic team, you could get several scouts involved in being that troop historian, in that team working together to come up with incredible documentation. Sometimes you have to forensically go back and kind of figure out who was Scoutmaster 30 years ago, from records or a very illegible signature or something like that. There's stuff that the historian can actually research on, find out what was, manpower, what was that kind of ribbon for, so that's something that a historian could look back at. Look at all the patches from the past. There's so many things they can do, and it's so important for your troop. If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it over and over and over again and totally forget about it. So don't do that. That's not what scouting is about. We try to keep things rolling in an order of some kind, and hopefully moving forward within the Scout Oath and Scout Law. That's what we do. And knowing your history is so important. I'm grateful for all you do in scouting. Please keep up that good, hard work. We're making great leaders for the future, and they are historic. So we need to record all of the activities that you're doing. That's so important. And I'm personally thankful for everyone supporting the channel and being so involved. I really, really appreciate it. Please keep up that really good hard work. And I'm going to put up over here the history of scouting. So I did videos on this. There's all kinds. There's even a playlist. So check those out. And until next time, I'll see you on the trail.